What's up, Wraeclast? Wabacha here, along with Hegemony, and today our guest is going to be Etup, King of Crabs. What's up, Etup? How's it going, man?
It's going good. It's going good.
And what's up with you, Hedgie? I know you died recently.
I'm a little salty, but I'll manage. What's up, guys? Great to be back on the show.
So yeah, today with the podcast, we're going to be talking about a couple things with Etup. I personally want to know what he always does, because Etup is always like one of the first to level 100. So yeah, and I also want to ask Etup about mapping, because I have a suspicion that people need to stop complaining about mapping and just start playing, rather than sitting here saying that they didn't get 2+2s from their map or whatever. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but
Let's pick his brain.
yeah, right.
I don't know. What do you want to start with? Map RNG or something like
Yeah,
that?
let's just go ahead and start with map RNG.
All right. Well, I don't know. I think it's all right. There is like comps, but there's also like the different tiers of maps, right? So, like basically, I think right near the top of like the first tier. So let's say like the 73, 72 area. I think that's like pretty rough, but if you're not like in the initial, I don't know, rush like the first few days, if you like if you're like casual and you play like in like a weekend, then it's not. I don't know if it's really that bad, but I think that's like one of the hard parts is breaking out of those like and then getting into the higher stuff. And then once you're into like the 75s, I feel like it's pretty good. You like work your way up, but like you basically just like roll. You're probably gonna chisel off when we like invest currency, right? It's gonna be much different than when other people should. Like if they start mapping a week into a league, they should probably not be. They always ask like people always ask me like how do you do roll maps when you just start chisel alching? And we started on 72s, right? But that doesn't mean you should because 72s cost 1 chaos now, you know.
Right.
So I
Wait,
mean,
you say we. Who are we talking about?
I'm talking like people who are like pushing like the like top 10 ladder, like my group or whoever, you know, whoever's like actually like pushing content, um like top 10 ladder, you know, whoever's like going hard, playing all day every day, you know.
So are we talking like 5 people, 3 people, two
Well,
people?
I mean, just anybody who like pushes maps and like ladder and stuff at the beginning of the league, right?
Okay.
You're gonna be investing a lot more in your lower maps than people who hit maps maybe 3 days in a weekend.
So you're saying
Because
you guys did the same thing, not necessarily you played together.
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, pretty much everyone's gonna invest a
Right.
lot more on lower maps than anybody else. Like later on, like
Hmm.
the longer you start into a league, like right now, if you were to buy maps, you could buy 75, so like 4 chaos, which is crazy. I think that's like a steal. I won't even sell my maps because it's so cheap, right? Because I just like it's just disgusting because it was so hard to like get up to like the higher maps. But I mean, I have 5 rows of 78s that have been in there since I hit 100, and I can sell 2 of those for an exalt right now. So it's like crazy. But
Wait, 278s go for an exalt right now?
yeah, two
That feels
seventy
like
eights.
a really like good deal for 278s.
Yeah, I mean, you find an exalt, you can basically buy your entire base because everything's so cheap. But then again, like if we get back to like investing like your money, a lot of people like struggle at going like once you get to the top tier, right? Like 79 is a big difference. That's when you hit like the crazy mods, the crazy rolls. Like that's when maps actually get pretty difficult, and a lot of builds will start struggling then, or you get just destroyed. And that's when you really like for like the first like 3 days when I was in those maps, I was really just like going into them, getting up to like 80s, 79s, and then I would just drop back down to like 77s for like 2, 3 days, and then I was like, all right. So I started like rolling really hard, and then I started zoning every map with like domination or onslaught, and then I started to get like serious returns. But every map was like one third of an exalt. I'm rolling it by myself, right? So super expensive, but
So what did you do to supplement this? Like the need for all the currency to roll your maps? Like, did you have some kind of, you know, money making scheme or
I
how did it
mean,
go?
when we're in like the higher maps first, right? You get all of the item level gear before anybody else. They sell for a lot. I don't know, item level 83 stuff was selling for crazy amounts at standard. So I actually like adjusted my prices because I wasn't really sure. Like I didn't think they were going for that much money, right? Like I heard of like the first week in I 83 Void Axe that was like 6 socketed sold for like 3 exalts or 4 exalts and stayed in his like
What?
warband. It was crazy. I was like, this is nuts. So we started selling stuff like really expensive. When we did like me and Bob basically, because everyone else in that group was dead at that time when we got the high maps. It was either me solo or Bob when he was around, who was playing support, and I mean he like kind of dropped off near the end because he was kind of tired of mapping and stuff. But I still brought him in on the higher maps. But yeah, and then you sell the lower maps, right? And they're worth a lot of money because like 5, 6 days into a league, you can sell like 73, 74, so like 3, 4 chaos each, and you get like 1 to 2 of those a map. You're basically paying for the Zana roll, and then you sell like item level gear. You can sell like 73 item level gear. You can sell 77 at the beginning of the league, and make good money off of this as well.
It's like I would have never thought people would buy those bases so early when they have very little currency themselves. Like usually when I decide, I'm gonna craft something, I have a substantial amount, like enough to, because I never want to go all in with all my currency on one item and end up with nothing. Like I still have to roll maps and sustain. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's a market that it's definitely there. Shit.
Yeah, I think the thing is that like if someone's like let's say all the Valax hype, right? Like Valaxes right now are still 20 chaos for an I-83 Valax. Like, and I could literally sell 20 of those a day, and I'm not even mapping it. Like if someone just funneled me them, but like because so many people want them, and like I was selling so much stuff, they just come to me for high item level stuff. I still sell like stuff for 10C every day, but that's just from like stockpiles of it, in my bank. But like so like if you're like day 2 or something, like maybe the next day you wake up and you're like in aqueducts, you want to roll your weapon because it's really easy to roll like 2-handers, right? So you might as well just pay like even if it's like 2C for like a 73 Valax, you think it's worth it to try and get tyrannicals and stuff like that. So like just having the chance of that, because I mean you could get a crazy weapon like so easy with 2-handers and like bows and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen some of the crazy crafts that people have been posting on Reddit and stuff. Well, if you had to give like 3 things that made you like very successful, like what were the top 3 things like contributed to your first to 100?
I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people don't adapt to certain things. Well, I mean, I played a lot of betas, so I kind of knew what to expect as far as damage and stuff. So a lot of people died off. Like basically, I don't know, a couple days into the league, there really wasn't much competition already for top 10 as long as like none of the people in my party died. Because like Havoc, who usually plays a lot, he did get like what second 100. He stayed up like 2 days, 40 hours in a row, but to get it, pretty fast. But yeah.
I have to ask something about that, but like, what is there something that you do specifically? Because I mean, the amount of hours that you put in, like for me, I can play, at a high level for a shorter period of time, and then I start to lose it. I can definitely feel myself like fading, like my judgments, my reactions are getting like lazier or slightly slower. Like, do you have some like ginseng tea or something that?
No, I mean,
like, how do you keep your focus for so long? Like,
I mean, it's usually not that bad. Like we play like around like 16 to 20 hours, like day 1, sleep like 4 hours a day for like the first 4 days. I mean, that's not like that crazy, right? Like Bob was sleeping like 2 hours a day for the first like week and a half. I don't know what he's like. He eats pogos. That's what he does. They're corn dogs, He loves those things. I don't know. That's his secret, I guess. But
doesn't your body feel like crap? Like, aren't you? Isn't your body like?
It's not. I mean, you're getting like 4 hours of sleep. It's not that bad, really. At least for me, I guess it might not be the same for other people. But then, like 4 or 5 days in, I'll start sleeping 6 hours a weekend. I'll be sleeping 8 hours a day. For like, I was playing only 12 hours a day, sleeping 8 hours a day the last week and a half or so. So it's not like we were playing a ton. It's the XP in the high maps is crazy. So as long as you can really afford to invest a lot of money, you'll be able to sustain 80 plus for sure.
Well,
it just takes tons of money.
Also, I mean, it's a lot easier to kind of stay up for those long stretches when you are playing in a group. Because you have people to talk to, you have people to interact with. I know I generally play solo, and Hedgie, is generally a solo player too. So we get in these situations where, once we're at 6 hours and we don't have like a group or many people to interact with, it's probably a little bit different for Hedgie because he streams, but I don't really stream that often, and when I have no one to talk to and I'm just mapping like 100% solo, like I just have music on and I have a stream on and I'm not really paying attention, like that's when I'll be like, well, okay, I'm tired, I'm kind of burnt out on this now.
Yeah, I think it would definitely be if I was just solo playing and like trying to, just go top 10 and stuff. It would definitely be kind of hard to just go by myself, and it would I don't know. I would probably just end up being more casual, like sleeping the extra 2 hours or something.
That's the thing. Like I kind of like was like watching you pace, and I was like, man, at this rate, it's only a matter of time. I mean, you are famous for the crab tub, sleep
Uh-huh.
tub. It's just a matter of time. I'm so surprised he's got such a commanding lead, and he's not like sleeping more. It's like, wouldn't that incentivize you? Hey, maybe I should, relax a little bit. There's like nobody that's really competing behind me. Everybody's dead
Yeah.
or so far behind. Maybe I'll get like a good night's sleep and then, you know,
And also,
stay.
why
Yeah,
didn't you kill a crab to get 100?
why did I
Come
kill
on.
that? I don't
Yeah.
know. We didn't do anything crazy. I don't know. I don't like to get too flashy. Have it killing Piety, double Piety. I don't remember what he did for his first 100. It was pretty funny.
Damn.
But
I was expecting Etup was gonna say like, oh yeah, so I make this shake in the morning, I take
uh,
it and like I do this and this and this and I stay
no,
focused.
Or at that point,
actually, no. Go ahead.
I was going to say, at that point, you could have, gone to the very last, like, sliver of XP that you needed and gone AFK or run ads for like 6 hours straight.
Yeah, that's
Just,
what I was.
yeah, like that would have
thinking about.
been funny, right? Like, okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to go to sleep now, you know, watch me get 100 in 10 hours because I'm done.
But actually, the crab death where I fell asleep was due to New Year's because it was like the day before was New Year's, and I got up early that day for New Year's because I was waking up at like 2 a.m. before, so I woke up at like 11 or like 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. and so I was up like early for that, and I woke up early. So I was just trying to go to stop streaming at like my normal time to keep my schedule straight. So it was actually like the very last map when I was up like extra long because of New Year's. So the next day I was like super tired. Like when I was like, oh, that was like the next day. So I was just trying to go to bed at like the same time I've been going to sleep at. So that was actually the reason I was so tired that day and fell asleep.
It's okay. Made for good
Yeah.
good Path of Exile, honestly.
He's got that mental stamina except for New Year's Day.
And now you have another form of your name, like forever. King of Crabs, Crab Tub, Sleep Tub, things like that. So
Yeah.
it's kind of...
It's immortalized.
It's immortalized. I don't know. Just, I don't understand why people complain about mapping as much as they do. I mean, it's really easy to... Well, not really easy, but yeah, you could do 100 maps and not get the drops that you think you should have got. But it's so easy to buy maps, especially as you said, like as the league gets older, it's just there's no reason to sit there and complain about it. Just play, because if you just play, you will either get the map to drop or you could buy it.
I mean, I'm kind of with you there. I'm complaining about it, but I'm constantly playing, constantly mapping, running them like with 147 quantity, volleying them, seeing tons and tons of maps, right? Like sometimes 10 maps, but they're all just like horrible levels.
Right.
I mean, I do get salty about it, but I only get salty because I know somebody else out there is having really good luck. They're the ones reining it in and selling them because they have such a surplus. So, realistically, there is a balance. It's only the vocal minority, the people that are getting screwed, that are actually taking the time to go complain about it. And
Right.
it kind of makes it seem like it's a bigger deal than.
Yeah, they don't know that hour that they took to write that post on Reddit may have been the hour that they got to 78 and the 79 and, got a core because they got a +2 and an 80. Like that is very well, a possibility. But, so you bring up saying that you get a lot of other maps, right? Like one of the biggest complaints about mapping is just you go into a 79 and you could get 68s, or you could just get the lowest tier maps. But now with Tempest, that's actually kind of not a bad thing because also with warbands too. I haven't really played much Warbands, but Etup's been playing it recently, so he knows a little bit more about this. But you can, if you have 10 tropical islands and there's a really good tempest on there, you just run 10 tropical islands. It makes running the map worthwhile because you get the same experience. There's not so much an experience penalty in the fact that it just takes way more experience for you to level. So you get the same amount of experience. And the Tempest, especially with like the poetempest.com, which I've been using a lot recently, and it's been making mapping like really fun because I go through and I have all my maps, and right when I'm about to run out of another one, I'm like, oh wait, there's this really money Tempest right now in Reef. Let me run all my Reefs, and it makes it enjoyable.
Well, see, I found that kind of boring because I like the concept of Tempest, kind of like chasing stuff, but I don't like doing the same map over and over and over again. I like to, get different, a different venue, change of scenery. And I kind of wish that it was like tiered off within the levels of the map or like a group of maps so I could rotate through like two or three or something. But, you know, running 10 reefs in a row, I get really, really bored easily. And it's fighting the same boss, usually the same implicit mobs. I mean, speaking of which, Tempest, like, let's ask Etup, how much time did you actually spend, like, Tempest chasing? Or did you even have the maps, like, backed up so much that you had the option of Tempest chasing, like?
I mean, I like honestly when I was going for my 100, I didn't. You basically just ignore them. It's just like a waste of time. It's something useless. But as I got to like 75 plus maps, because before that you don't really have a choice. You don't have enough maps to choose. But once you start like building up a base, or you have like a lot of high maps, or like stuff that you actually want to run. Like let's say I have like 4 of every 79, right? I'll roll them all up. I'll put one in because no one else is doing them, so you don't know anything. Even now, you probably don't really know what's on the maps. And then if it has a Tempest, then I'll run more of them because of the quantity bonus on the map, right? So you give it more map chance. If it doesn't, then I'll just switch the next one and see if it has a Tempest on it. That's basically the extent of the Tempest that I really cared about. Or there was the rip ones like Abyssal, maybe Veiled. I never got Veiled. That you would be like, okay, I'm just like not doing these at all.
Right,
So
and with those, you kind of ran the chance of botching a map.
Yeah, I mean, I only ran into one Abyssal, and I cleared 70% of it, which I shouldn't have because it was beyond it. There were chaos detonations, and it was
What level was that at?
79.
Oh, no, not the map. I mean your character.
Oh, my character, he's probably like 97 or something.
Oh wow, take a big risk to get those big gains.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So at no point during your your run to 100 did you like go down a map, because there was that mod that did 50% increase XP. So I figured if you're like doing 80s, you're like, oh, this is 50% XP, but it's a 78. I'm gonna get more XP out of this 78 than my current 80s or whatever.
It's honestly so rare. I got like 4 the entire time I was leveling to 100. I mean, if someone told me, like, if I was doing like 79s and 80s, someone's like 50% XP on Underground
Springs.
River or something, yeah, I would probably go down. But the thing is, like, there really wasn't a lot of people doing the high maps, and are they going to tell me? I mean, like, let's say there's 30 people running high maps and maybe 15 online. Do you think like the one guy who walks into the map is going to PM me and be like, yo, this is XP, like, that'd be sick. Someone did tell me that in a Village Runes, and we did like 3 of those. He had 1, I had 2, so we did that. But I mean, it was pretty rare. I mean, now you're gonna have slightly more information, but in general, maps above 76 aren't reported at all. Like, or at least a couple days ago when I looked. So
Yeah, they're starting to get reported a little bit more now. I mean, but I really like the PoE Tempest tool. There are problems with it, and I could see why you would ignore Tempest, especially when you are pushing for your top 10 position or your number 1 position. But
yeah, it's interesting. It's not that he doesn't see value in them. It's just like in order to push like he's pushing, it's just inefficient. He doesn't need to make money, so like the appeal of running Corrupted, which is like a money maker, it's not really there for him because he can just keep on pushing and just sell those ball axes or whatever.
yeah, anything you get your hands on. I did actually find one. I was like 99 or 98. I got a Corrupted Tempest and 80 map, and I got 481 maps from it. It was pretty good. But they're like three of them were like some just crazy. They weren't like bad maps. They were good, but they're not chiseled. You can't. You could Zana them, but it's pretty expensive, so I didn't. And like one of them was an 80 map, and it got rolled up a level. So that's pretty cool. And then one was white. I think overall they didn't do too great, but it was still pretty sweet. 4+1s and an 80 is pretty insane.
So you would say a large portion of your like currency just comes from base, like item level bases.
Item level and maps.
And maps.
Definitely. Yeah, maps for sure. Because I mean, I sold one day I sold like 67, 76 maps, which is a lot of. It's like 12 exalts worth of just 76 maps that I had. So I had like 6 rows, and I didn't sell them to anybody. And some guy was like, "Yo, I'll buy all of them," and I'm like, "Okay, let's go."
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like thanks for the bulk buy. Now,
Yeah.
but with the item level bases, is that something that has changed like greatly ever since Forsaken Masters? Because now it's actually like pretty easy to craft. You could multi-craft something and you can get an item that is like insanely good, because the best way to multi-craft is just to alteration spam it to where it only has one property on it. Ideally it would be your prefix, I'm assuming, and then you regal it. Hopefully you get something good on the regal. Like, you don't even augment it, you just go for 2 properties so you can multi-mod it.
I think it. I mean, it's definitely gotten better, obviously. But the thing is, back in the day, like let's say like Nemesis or before, where Maze wasn't there, and like we had to exalt maps still. I mean, in Nemesis, we were still slamming exalts on maps. So like the thing about like bases then is there was very few people with them. So if anybody wanted them, they were basically coming to you for them. So they were still worth money then. Well, now there's like tons of people who want to roll, like anybody will want to like get an item and roll it, and so it definitely has improved. But there's also more people getting the stuff, so you kind of have to get ahead of the market a bit, because I mean prices will come down. Like 77s probably not even worth picking up anymore. 73s, obviously no one would touch those. So.
Well, just being there, you're going to get ahead of the market. I mean, that's one of the biggest things about that. There's a post recently where someone broke down, I can't remember what it was. I think it was the standard flashback, where someone broke down like how they actually, achieved the levels that they did and what they did, and how they had, multiple people selling maps. They had one person farming Zeri while other people, did all these things. So there's like just being ahead of the curve gives you such a a great source of income and currency.
Yeah, I remember that post. But yeah, sorry, how do you go ahead?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's there's multiple ways that people approach this. Sometimes people just they'll have the map, the guy that they just feed everything to, and then that guy will, he'll pick up good items, and then he'll just give them to guildmates, and the guildmates are responsible for selling it, and then they get a cut. It's just kind of like a multiple ways. I mean, Etup went about getting the basis, getting ahead, being, capitalizing on being, one of the few people able to attain these items. But, aside from currency, we know your currency successes. Like, how many close calls did you have past, let's just say 90? Like, where you honestly 90? Felt like you cheated death? Yeah.
I mean, my closest calls are all around like 98, 99. I mean, I honestly wasn't logging like ever, because I mean it's like a super tanky build, and basically my only like close calls that I actually remember were both to Corrupting Blood, because it can sometimes you just hit like the most insane CBs, which I have always hated how it's so random, and it makes a huge deal if they're like cursing me as well, and it's just like crazy. Like if they're cursing me and you don't get enfeeble on them, and they start doing like ridiculous damage. And with the lag and high level maps, like you actually just freeze when frenzy charges go out, because there's so many mobs with like shrines and stuff. Your game will just lock up for 2 seconds, and you're getting like CB stacks on you. And
he means video freeze too, not like the freeze that you could remove with a flask.
Yeah. So like you can't actually do anything, and those are pretty sketchy. But I mean, I don't really think I had any like cheat death moments. I think there's like one thing, but I can't really think of what it was.
Do you remember what map it was? Was it a boss?
No, I can't actually. Oh, actually, yeah, okay. So my closest call that I remember now that you say that. It was negative max turbo double boss dominance palace. We just we killed the bosses.
Oh yeah.
That was a sketchy one. We didn't think it'd be that bad. I'm like halfway through killing it. So like as I have Arctic armor, right? So chill plus my support Bob is he was running like super strong curses. So the bosses are like they can barely move with temp chains, chill and enfeeble and all that stuff. So it's pretty safe. If that was a single boss, it would have been no problem. But with two, I can't chill both. And I didn't really think about how bad it would be. Like turbo is actually like just crazy. And so like even with temp chains on, they fire basically at normal speed and crit like just like negative max from the lightning is still insane. And I almost just got like insta killed in like a split second from the lightning he shoots out, which is
Wait. Was that the
insane.
time you asked HVR to come in? You're like, hey, can you come kill this?
No. He did some of my palaces when Bob wasn't online. He like did
So
one
that
of his
was
kind of
after the
boss.
fact.
Yeah,
After you
yeah.
had that experience, you're like, okay, I'm gonna rethink this. HVR, come kill this boss.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would still probably run that. It's just double boss minus max turbo is probably not advised. Like, I've done some double bosses since then, but with the turbo and all the other stuff, it's pretty crazy. And how I can do it pretty safely on any Quiznet build. So.
So I have a question real quick. In terms of XP per hour and just like everything that we've been talking about, are boss kills really worth it? Because I don't know how much experience bosses actually give. It sounds like those encounters that you had didn't. It wasn't like you're just clearing trash. It seems like you get a lot more experience. Just obviously you want to kill it for maps and things like that, but is it worth it for the experience?
I mean, XP is going to be pretty minimal. I mean, it's really just about like if they didn't add the 20% chance to get a map, I mean, I probably wouldn't do like if I don't have like support there to make it like pretty safe. Like it's not like I couldn't kill the boss. It's just there's a lot higher risk, so it's really not worth taking the risk for it. The like low chance that I get a map and then the map isn't terrible and all that. So I generally tried to run my high maps when I knew I would be able to kill the bosses always. So we pretty much killed every single boss except the Palace Dominus that I said. And
Really?
I mean, we killed them all pretty fast. Oh, like the Resto and Coliseum is also crazy. That's another one actually. You
Really?
can't. Yeah.
I found the trio with the what's it called? The link, the phylacteral link.
Excavation in mine.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
guy hits hard as hell when you're in melee range. That big
Yeah.
golem dude.
I mean, with this, like I usually just switch my gems a bit, and I either go like leech or like gonna hit based on the map mods, and I can pretty much face tank on like no region, born and stuff like that, and just tank them. They can be kind of nasty, but with like such like if it's not like a half region, no region map, I can probably just face tank them. I mean, I have like 800 regen a second, right? So, which like regen is super underrated. Everyone who thinks blood rage is free is crazy, and like I don't know. There was way too much. Blood Rage is OP because they can just run it and just lose 4% life regen, which is life regen is one of the most OP defensive stats in the game.
Yeah,
Like,
4% is actually kind of a lot. Like you generally won't pick
yeah,
up more than 2 to 3% on your passive tree for most builds. I'd imagine all the ones I've done, I'm sitting there somewhere between 2 to 3%.
I mean, I went on that map. It was double boss turbo. That was the only and no regen on my Wukong character. That's just decked, and then I got them down to like 30%, but I couldn't kill a single one because I mean the phylacteral link, and then having 6 of those guys on teeny tiny bridges, it was it was rough. I was like, there's no way in hell I'm doing this.
yeah. I think I did. I think I did a similar map to that, but
Double boss and
yeah, double boss no region. I actually remember. Yeah, I mean, if they don't have like damage mods, I can pretty much just stick in life leech and be tanking up with coil, taste the hate, and like 7 charges. You can just tank it.
Oh yeah, this is
As long as you're hitting
That-
the right
that's
the
what
one.
I
most
had.
expensive defensive setup that we possibly have right now.
I
Yeah.
had a legacy coil and a taste of hate. And it was
I don't
just
know.
they were just smacking me, and then everyone was just throwing poo at me. And it was just like, dude, what the
Yeah.
hell? I mean, is there a strategy to just like separate them, or
I mean, not really. I mean, it might just be Cyclone's mobility where you can just
yeah?
move around and not just get like whatever would be hurting you a lot. I mean, I don't know how bad like maybe the degen was hurting you, or something like from the guy chucking fire in the ground. That's pretty nasty.
So was
You
your
don't have to.
general strategy like just roll your maps, do them, and then the ones that are sketchy, just wait till Bob logs on and then run it with him, or
Pretty much everything 79 and below I would do solo. Like I did some maps that I probably shouldn't have, like Overgrown Ruins that was like Vuln, monster damage, extra damage is fire, extra damage is lightning with like turbo or something, and negative max maybe too. It was pretty
You
ridiculous.
did that
And
solo?
yeah, I soloed that.
Wow.
And I mean, it wasn't that. I mean, yeah, obviously you're playing completely different in that map compared to everyone else, like every other map that you would run, right? Because it's like even like a white monster, you really have to respect it. If someone like goes in there and they're like, "Oh, it's just like I had whippers and titty bitches in there," it wasn't like a walk in the park like the whole map, anyways. But you really have to like play it safe. Like, but you can like instantly kill the mobs pretty much just spinning through them, so they're just gonna get like wiped out. So it's really not that risky. But it was pretty intense, that's for sure.
But before I forget, I want to tell you guys about some poison arrow, like first world poison arrow problems. Corrupting blood on bloodlines is probably one of the scariest things for poison arrow because you generally will drop. You could drop, 20 mobs at the same exact time, and you go from not. And I only bring this up because you mentioned it prior, and I wanted to say something, but you go from no corrupting blood to a 20 stack corrupting blood or whatever the max is, but it is crazy scary sometimes because all of a sudden you just see your health instantly
Yeah,
drop down and you're like, oh yeah,
it's
I don't
pretty
know.
unreal the damage that like CB can do with some mobs.
I mean, maybe that's how Etup stayed awake this whole time, just fucking respecting the mods, and you're just
Yeah.
like always feel like you're gonna die at any time.
I
I mean,
got like paranoid near the end of like detonate deads on bosses and stuff because there's like all this crazy stuff that can just spawn in. Oh, you got a boss? You're looting? Oh,
Right.
boss just exploded. Have fun in software.
Well, you even said the day that you got 100, maybe like 20 minutes before you got 100, you're like, man, I had a nightmare last night that I died.
Yeah. I had a dream like when I was like 98 that I like died or something. I don't even remember
Yeah.
anything else. I just know I like
I had
died.
one of those during the flashback league. I like woke up, like I just sat up, and I was like, I died. And I'm like, oh no. I'd imagine you kind of have like this recurring fear of corrupting blood coming back or a crab coming back to get you, especially now.
dude, Wabachai, did you see that time I was on beta? I think I was doing like a necro, and it was like Monster Life and something and totems, right? And then I went to go loot something, and then the totem just straight up popped those two corpses and killed me as I was
No,
looting.
I didn't see that.
Oh my god.
That's
I
a
have
new
mad
totem that they
respect
added, right?
for Detonate. No, Detonate Dead totem's been there for a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I've never even like
Yeah,
worried
it's been
about
there
that.
since back in the day. Like I remember like classic, when Crip was still around running maps in like a dry woods. Like our whole party almost got one shot by a golem. It was crazy.
Yeah,
Who was
I
it?
do that.
Who was it recently that died because the Springs boss? Was it HVR? I think it was HVR.
No,
No, it wasn't
oh.
HVR.
I mean, he hit 100 unless you're talking about a different league.
Or not
I'm not
HVR
sure.
Havoc. No, it wasn't. No, I'm talking about a different league. Yeah, someone just died because there was double unique boss on Springs.
Oh, that was Crip. Crip died.
Was it Crip?
Yeah.
Yeah, he died
that was
in
when
open
Springs
beta.
was
Oh
like,
wow!
yeah.
I just made a
Someone,
joke.
I mean, there
didn't
was a
mean to.
post probably on Reddit at some point within the last like 2 leagues. I remember where someone's like, "I died to this. It's crazy," and everyone's like, face palming. You didn't see the video like 2 years ago.
Right. So speaking of people dying instantly and whatnot, I know Hedgie wanted to talk about this, so I'm going to go ahead and bring it up. Log out macro. So Hedgie, go ahead, go for it.
I mean, yeah, I just kind of wanted, it's a definitely a touchy subject with the community. I mean, people either scathe you, they fling poo at you if, you use it. And I just wanted to get your opinions, both your opinions on it. I mean, personally, I use it. I think it's, it's been accepted by GG. They know that this game's not perfect. It's tuned so that you can escape, and the challenge is definitely there. Honestly, I feel like if you're going to like hit escape and log out anyways, you're just doing the function. So why not just make, why not just use the macro? Like I don't understand why people are so, butthurt at people that use logout macros. But I want to, toss the ball to you guys and hear your thoughts on that.
I'll go ahead and shoot first on this. So I play this game pretty casually, and I actually just recently, probably during the Flashback League, is when I finally got a logout macro. I have the TCP interrupter, and it works really well, and I have it bound to my my tilde key, and I see no problem with it because GGG has, as you've said, they've stated multiple times that the game is balanced around you being able to log out instantly. And I don't really follow the reasoning that a lot of people have that if you're playing hardcore, you shouldn't be using you shouldn't be using a logout macro. Like you should just die. Like I personally don't follow that.
Yeah, I don't follow that logic either.
Like because it's just like why would I do that? And on top of that, most of the people that do say things like that, they're more often than not just viewers or people who aren't playing, right? Like you're someone who is saying that you're not even playing. So why are you saying that? If you were playing, would you say that? If you were playing, we wouldn't know if you said that. So, like we don't know what you do. I think it's just kind of I think it's something that people are kind of, they worry too much about. Like you always hear people outside of the logout macro, we have people worrying about if other players or top players, whatever, use auto-potting scripts, which I don't get that. I don't understand why you would use that. And I haven't seen it blatantly, but I can understand why you wouldn't want that. But as for the logout macro, I don't really get it. I've been using it for a couple months now, and my life in hardcore has never been better.
I mean, you should basically just be, if you don't have it, like step one of PoE is get the macro to log out. So then learn the game. Like, I don't know, like people still don't use it. Like I think Noogie doesn't use it. I think Rise wasn't, but I'm pretty sure
he does now.
Yeah, he definitely does now. I mean, there's really just no point not to do it unless you're some like above everyone else. I'm gonna escape and click the login screen. I don't know, like. And the thing is, that's even slower. Like even if you did it the same reaction speed as a macro, it's slower than the one that disconnects you with like TCP or whatever. So like that one's like the fastest one by far, and the game is balanced around it and all that. So.
I could understand if GGG doesn't want to, implement something that is that fast because I'm sure they don't want a UI button on their screen that kills your TCP connection, right? Like that seems like a bad idea, but I don't really see why they eventually won't add just a straight up like macro button.
Chris mentioned it long time ago about actually giving you guys a keybind to log out as a feature, as a regular part of the game. But I guess there are some mixed opinions in the office, and that's why it's not implemented because it wouldn't be hard. But I mean, people are, so many people are saying unethical, and these people are the same people that are hitting escape click. And I was like, yo, bro, if you're hitting escape click, if you're hitting all four, it all does the same function. What is the difference? Like you're going to be in the game, anywhere from half a second to a second and a half longer. Like, I don't understand why they are knocking on people achieving the same
if you're already trying to do the action, why not just try to ensure it the best you can?
Yeah, I mean, you can go to there you have to draw the line somewhere. Like you said, people use chicken script where it pots for you, and it's too automated. But yeah, I mean, there is an ethical line there. Okay, that's achieving more than one action. It's like that is wrong. But I mean, Alt F4, escape left click. You're no bigger of a man by doing that. I mean, that's just I think it's very, very silly. But maybe our viewers think differently.
Well, on top of that, you bring up that the chicken script that 4 pots you at once is it's multiple actions. That's actually, I feel like that's kind of a bit of a gray area because recently when GGG did post more about it on Reddit and talk about what specifically is an action and what is not an action, I was surprised that hitting the escape key is not an action. And that's the only reason why that script is by the rule.
I don't think so. I think it's
Well,
because Alt F4 is the same thing.
right.
Alt F4 is, there's no escape and then left click. Alt F4 is just client crash, pretty much log out. And essentially that script mimics Alt F4, only it does it better and more efficiently. So why not use that,
Yeah, and on like the topic of people like disliking it, I mean, if they were to ever be like you can't do it or like somehow stop you from being able to do it, like they kind of experiment with like Cutthroat League. I mean, all it would really do is cause everybody to just play different in hardcore, to where you put yourself in a lot less riskier situations, like way less risk. I mean, it would slow down the gameplay. It would be like walking. I mean, if you saw like open beta where we used to totem walk, I mean, I don't think that'll become a thing. I mean, maybe on some maps it would with certain mob types, but it would definitely change how people play it, and they would just play around not having it, and then they would have a bigger buffer versus right now where our buffer is logout macro. So
yeah, I mean, like Rye said in a previous cast, we're allowed, like, since we have this tool, we do make more riskier situations. We do put ourselves in danger because, we know we can log out, but it, like Etup said, if it was, already, if it log out wasn't going to happen, then we would play a lot slower and we'd probably see a lot more resident sleepers in chat and, just like, well, this is what I got to do because, I can't log out anymore. You got to play it safe and,
bring back the EK Marauders.
Oh, man. Well, that's already coming back, isn't it?
Yeah, EK is very good now. Yeah. Hardcore viable. If you think hybrid is hardcore viable.
I mean, Etup seems to be immune to the trollery in chat because people like anything Etup does, they have some kind of emo. If Etup logs out, they'll be like, "Nice and log out macro, bro." It's just like a spam fest.
That's one thing that I actually like about Etup's channel. I'm like, oh, this is freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
Anytime Etup like gets an exalted RMT spam, it's just
right.
Ruthless, man.
A couple days ago, I don't know what happened, but like your screen went black for a second, just a second, and then all of a sudden that like spaced out text came up. It was like his screen went black, and I heard a credit card swipe in the background, and then lo and behold, he's on Twilight Strand with an exalted orb in front of him. I like died at that moment.
That's another form of poetry.
Yeah.
I was switching scenes and I forgot to switch it back. Sometimes I troll when I'm doing like trades and stuff, and I'll turn the screen black. So then people are all like spamming RMT, stuff like that. Yeah, and I was switching from monitor capture to game capture, and I clicked off monitor capture, and I didn't click the other one. I didn't realize it. So I was like, what is everyone spamming for?
The accidental troll is the best troll.
Yeah.
So what else do we want to talk about?
I actually wanted to know more about Bob Slop. I mean, Etup said like he didn't have that many close calls. More or less, they were like CBs. I'm surprised he didn't have any Stormbearer close calls. Like, especially when you're getting kind of tired, you're like that slight delayed reaction, especially when you're cycloning, you're like kind of locked in for a little bit. You're just like, oh shit, there's just like 50 of those sea witches drop those Stormbearers, and you're just like, oh fuck, I hope this leaf slam works, because if it doesn't, I'm dead.
That's one of my most hated like things that carried over from Blood. Like I really hated like probably about 50% of Bloodlines. I just despise like the mechanics. They're put in poorly. Like it's basically like they ripped a bunch of like Diablo 3 mechanic. Like Molten is basically Stormbearer with different elements, right? But the thing is, the graphics. Like if you're in a full party, like the graphics don't sit on top of other graphics. You can't see shit. Like I don't know if we're PG-13, but you can't see anything, and I mean it's pretty terrible. Like I've definitely seen people just die because they actually just can't see them, and they just walk into them, and it's like, oh. But I think the key there is we really didn't play with more than like 3 people ever. I mean, I had like an initial party of 6. By the time we were in like Cruel, it was like 3. 1 quit, 1 died, 1 went AFK. And then it was like me and like 1 other guy, 2 other guys, and 1 was late, so it was just me and like Odang, who was playing Incinerate, and we basically just 2-manned the whole way up to like Merciless and stuff. But obviously we're not like racers, so like Pam's group was at the top. But yeah, I mean I don't know, I really dislike Stormbearer and some of the other stuff, but
And
It
that's the
really
thing.
wasn't a big issue, which is surprising, but maybe I got lucky, you know.
If you play with like COC, Firestormers,
Yeah,
Mjolnir dischargers, you can't see shit what's going on. If they're like tagging a rare or there's like undying or something, and then mobs die and storm bears spawn, it's just like there's so much, so many particles on the screen. Sometimes you can't even see it. It's just all buried within the effects.
yeah. I think if they really want to run stuff like that, they either need to put like visual cues on mobs, like maybe Herald of the Obelisk, the mobs are like lightning like auras on them, so like that's
Yeah.
one of the things I really hated about Cycling when I was paranoid. I always had Bob um, mouse over the blues and stuff because I'm always holding like a left click or right click. I can't mouse over anything unless I let go, and it's really like I don't want to do that. It's slower and it like kind of messes with your groove with Cyclone. So it's like a lot of the times like I program Bob to just call out blue packs or at least like if I'm opening a box so he mouses over them or I try and mouse over them so we know what's in there before I go YOLOing in and get like 4,000 lightning balls and I'm like, okay, I just died to some stupid
Man,
shit,
I
you
need a
know.
Bob slop.
I
Yeah.
know, man. How much does he charge by the hour? Like,
Right.
I mean, you just have to feed them pogos and you're good to go, which is it's a Canadian corn dog brand, if anybody's wondering. Corn dogs.
I
Apparently,
know.
someone stole his cord to the microwave today, so he's out of
Oh shit,
service
he's
right
shit
now.
out of luck.
Yeah,
What's he
he's
gonna
fucked.
do? How do you cook a
Uh,
micro or how do you cook
I
a
think he
corn
just had
dog?
a hot dog today instead, you know?
Right.
I
Just a
saw I
good
saw
old
you
hot dog.
a portion of your stream where I think you guys were doing like a pit. It might have been a Zana or something,
It
and it
could have
was
been
really.
Coliseum. It's probably Coliseum. Coliseum starts off with a pit like person.
Oh yeah, yeah. And Bob just like literally got down to a sliver of ES. He
Oh,
was just
yeah, yeah.
talking so much shit to you. He's like, "What are you doing? Go in there!" And then boom, he just gets wrecked, and you're like, "Oh, how are you doing?" He's like hiding
Yeah.
behind the pillar, trying to ES reach in.
There
How
was
many close
a
calls did he have?
I mean, I don't think he had that many. Probably like, I mean, he definitely had to log more than me because he is playing like hybrid support and he has nowhere to heal. So
No
if
lead.
he gets chunked, he can't just hit the mobs. He can pot a little bit, but not really, right? So if you get into a sketchy situation, you're kind of forced into a log. But I mean, it didn't happen that often. That map actually was like, I don't know, there's probably like, 2 to 3 damage mods and it was like those axe chuckers, I think, was the ones, and they got like enchanted with like a lightning storm. And I turned the corner, right? So I'm like spinning in, and they all chucked their axes at me. It was like GMP, so like he came behind me, and there was like 40 axes that just like hit him in the face. Was, like, game over. Almost got just insta killed with like nothing. He wasn't cursed, obviously, because I was like in front of it a bit. But it was pretty crazy.
So, how likely are you to try to get 100 again with Cyclone?
With
Because
Cyclone,
with
I mean,
Cyclone,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Like, did you only do that just because Cyclone is like ridiculous right now?
Well, I mean, I actually enjoy this skill a lot, even though most people are like they don't like it. A lot of people were like, especially I don't know. Pam was saying that he thought Sweep was. I don't think Sweep is better than Cyclone. I know Heavy's a Sweep
Oh,
fanboy, but
perfect. Yeah.
I
So we
feel
got
like
Hedgie here. Perfect.
yeah. I mean, I really just feel like the like even if let's say the damage is equal, which I don't know. I think like single target, you're probably gonna just want to like Cyclone Conk or something. Anyways, I don't know. Like it might be like better versus like heavy striking, which does like lockdown mobs, but like sweep does like push them away and all that stuff. I just think moving and being able to like just you're constantly moving. You're just dodging so much damage. Just like it's like you have evasion just because you just move around. Mobs can't actually hit you. You're not like standing there. Even if you're pushing away most mobs, it just feels like it's so strong just for survivability. That was like the main reason in the skill I actually liked a lot with lockstep and
Yeah, I mean that's the main reason I stacked attack speed is because like I multi strike and then I leap into another spot. I mean, I think besides the axe, or I think the Molotov cocktails, the
mm,
humanoids, those
yeah,
things need a lot of respect with GMP. Oh my god, those things
yeah.
hit so hard. I'm always like juking and jiving when I see those things. I'm like,
That's
oh
definitely
please.
when I like see a pack of those and I'm like solo and I'm approaching them, I go in at like a slant. I like run sideways and then come in because they do their initial like cocktail chuck and then you're like they just throw the rocks. I mean they still hit hard, they're still crazy, but they're not insta killing you basically with crazy defenses. That's
Yeah.
definitely a thing that'll kill casters.
It's
I've been making a habit of, sending all the messages to the people that die that are like 94 plus on the ladder, they get the global spam. I'm
Mhm.
like, how did you die? How did you die? A lot of them say minus max GMP cocktails. I'm just like,
yeah, those guys
Yeah.
are no
damn.
joke.
There are
Um,
like some hidden crazy mobs too. Like the tar snakes. You guys know this from Act 4. Are actually pretty insane with GMP. They're like the fizz trappers. I think that it's like a spell or it splashes at least. You can't dodge it or evade it. So they spit on the floor with GMP, and that is like one of the ways Bob almost died as well. He almost just got instant killed by tar snakes, and like who's gonna respect like a tar? Like those things don't even do anything, right? Normally, but like
Yeah.
GMP, they're like one of the crazy mobs that you don't know about right now. I think.
oh yeah, that's a good heads up for me because my character is 100% evasion and dodge.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, like I have like so little issue with mapping. I barely take any damage, and I have very little mitigation just because I have all avoidance.
Well, you're constantly moving. That's the
Yeah, I
most
am
important
constantly
thing.
moving,
That's like,
which makes the fact that I use Arctic armor stupid, but well, kind of stupid. Whatever. Um, Another thing I actually kind of wanted to ask was, oh, actually, I want to say this. Sweep has come a long way. Like Sweep has definitely kind of made its rounds from like the Gouda joke to just being shitty to now it's actually like in a really good spot. And I know Hedgie has been using Sweep for a long time, and he's had his janitor build and everything. And I want to say that's kind of what inspired your unique that you designed. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely. I
But
mean,
but
I've been using it a long time.
right. But Cyclone has been good for, well, it's been all right. Its mana cost has been reduced, I'm assuming, because everyone used to do it with like Soul Taker. That was the whole reason Soul Taker was like the business. But now we have Cyclone in its state, which is just like it's the king, in my opinion. I mean, I think it is probably just Cyclone followed by Sweep and then Ice Crash, and those are just like the
Yeah.
three melee skills.
I'm
I
not.
agree.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of Ice Crash. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that I don't want to use it. I definitely think that the top two contenders are Sweep and Cyclone. They have different problems. I mean, they're not at all the same. I mean, Cyclone you can do. It's nice because you can use your AOE and single target on the same link, and the flexibility of changing out the life leech mod, easy peasy. Whereas Sweep, you get really good leech because it's like pure fizz, and it pushes mobs back. But I think more or less it's the way you use Sleep. If you're like leaping into the packs and getting your maximum efficiency, you have to attack fast enough to push out mobs and actually deliver the payload. Because if you can't sweep fast enough after your leap slam, you're going to get hit, and that's something that you want to avoid. That's why it's so important to stack attack speed. But you always the downside is you need to have a single target, whether that's double strike, heavy strike, glacial hammer, conch cyclone. Those are all options. But I really love playing it, and it's really strong. As long as you got to be agile. Don't stand in one spot the whole time. Constantly evaluate what you're looking at. But it's
Seems kind
definitely
of it seems kind of counterintuitive to go Sweep for AOE, but then use Cyclone for your single target.
Yeah,
But that
that's
just
kind
points
of
to how good Cyclone is, right?
Well, I mean, I think that's just true for most conk effect spells. I think, or like skills. Sorry, where if you're like, let's say you're like Ice Nova, you're like, well, Ice Nova kind of sucks single target. Use like a conk glacial cascade, and it's insane, right? Even with like a 4 link, you're gonna destroy stuff because of the damage multipliers. So, I mean, conk skills in general are just really, really good for being single target because you can scale them with really few links.
That's right. And you did Ice Nova and Glacial Cascade in beta, didn't you? That was like one of the first things you did.
I think I told Neon, I was telling him that I felt like Glacial Cascade was just ridiculous because I mean I didn't really have like the craziest gear, but I would actually kill like bosses with one Glacial Cascade, just one right click, and they died from full life.
Is that something you see yourself playing sometime soon? Because I personally have always liked Ice Nova. I think a lot of people do want
Yeah, I mean,
to use Ice
I
Nova.
played Ice Nova on before beta, and then I wanted to try it again once it got all the buffs and stuff because I was pretty hyped for that because I do like the skill. But now, most people think Shock Nova is just the superior version, and there's no point in running Ice Nova anymore. You can just call the Brotherhood and freeze,
Right?
right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah, I was about to say like that's only the case because of Call of the Brotherhood. Because one
yeah,
of the nice things about Ice Nova is it's inherently defensive.
Hmm.
yeah,
Now you have that with Shock Nova with Call of the Brotherhood.
yeah. I don't know. I don't really like. They didn't really add any new fancy spells. I think Magmorb is pretty weak. I don't know if you wanted to talk about any of the new skills, but like Wild Strike. I don't know. I thought all the new skills were kind of lackluster. They're not really. I don't know. I tried Frostblade. It's just they all seem like kind of poorly designed or not fleshed out to be good enough. They need to be like mechanically changed to actually be good. I feel. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, I think the only potential in Magma Orb is COC, and even then, like I almost might use, I would rather use something else probably.
Yeah.
I haven't tested it out, but I think it's COC, Magma Orb, or Bust because I tried self casting it and it just felt horrible. Felt like
Yeah.
dribbling a ball
I've
like as a
seen
6-year-old.
people play it, and it's got like the AOE is not that great. The single target look terrible. Like, what's the upside to the skill, right? And yeah, like,
You look
and
like
also
Mario.
caster defenses.
Yeah,
Like, I think
Mario.
hybrid's like the only way to go for casters. I feel like like the EB moms. I don't think that's even worth bothering with. You can be like 5k HP, 5k yes, and Valpak life leech Ghost Reaver. And be that's about as good as it gets right now for a caster, I think. And like you're gonna be getting chunky if you get caught. You're probably gonna die. So like you can do it if you played in a group. It's probably much safer. Um, I don't know if I really like that. I don't know. I feel like matcha damage is probably gonna get nerfed, even though I don't know how that'll leave the game. Like, I think stuff is probably too strong, like slightly too strong right now.
Well,
I thought that coming out of beta as well.
recently, with the removal of Thornflesh, people are
Yeah.
saying like, well, what is there to keep players in check now with their damage? And I think we have something that keeps players in check right now. We have insane damage coming out
Hmm.
from everything. Like you can't if you go glass cannon, like you better have a like a really good cannon because you are going to get wrecked if you don't have the mitigation behind it. But I mean the other thing is I think the problem with looking at the new skills is that it's just going to get harder and harder for GGG to release new skills. I mean, new unique skills that work with their game system. Although it is, it's very likely that we're going to see some new exciting ones because they did say that for a long time, desync stopped them from making a lot of skills, right?
And
But now,
shotgunning now.
Not only skills but
well,
items
and
too.
yeah, yeah, between desync and I think it was shotgunning actually is what I was meaning to refer to. But between those two things, it stopped them from developing a lot of things for the game. But I mean, classically, when we look at other action RPGs, when we look at Diablo 2, when we look at even Diablo 3, like I'm sorry if nobody wants to talk about Diablo 3, but you don't really get skills added as frequently as we've been seeing in Path of Exile. And I worry that people are going to be getting a little too entitled to having a new skill every other month, right? Because it's going to be hard to implement them into the game, and it's just going to get harder from here on out.
Well, I was basically gonna say. I mean, like if you look at all the skills they've added, like when they came in, they were just better than everything else. Like Static Strike when it came out was pretty crazy, right? Like, I mean, like you had like Static Strike versus Reeve basically as far as what to use. I mean, that felt okay. Reeve was like much better AoE. Static was way better single target. I felt like that was pretty good. But then, like we have so many dead skills in the game now. Like if you look at basically anything that needs to be splash or involves putting splash in your links, like splash it's needed a rework for a long time. They haven't done it.
Like
Like
Glacial Hammer.
all those dead skills. Yeah, I mean they could really like revive builds just by like that would be like half the melee skills right there, like just getting fixed or improved or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say I can kind of see how they're going with, a lot of these skills, and they're very weary on how they work mechanically. like Static Strike might have been the last skill that we saw that came out and that was deployed that was like amazing. There was the accidental Fire Nova mine, which wasn't even supposed to be out, but when people were using it, they're like, "Oh my God!" And the AOE was just way too big, and then they nerfed it pretty quickly. But like I would, from here on out, we've seen pretty much new skills come out, and they're very lackluster. And I think that they're just taking the more passive approach by like releasing something, very timid to see how the community reacts, and then maybe, but it's much better to buff it later, as long as they
Yeah,
don't discover these broken things like Molten Strike. You look at that and you're like, well, it's an average skill, but coupled with, cast on crit, then you're like, you go into really sketchy and scary and powerful things like with Mjolnir and Discharge, and people can abuse these things. So I think it's okay that the Frost Blades, Wild Strike, I think those all can be tuned a bit more. I am a fan of how they are mechanically, but I don't feel like the numbers are right, whether it be like the cost of the skill or the damage that it does. But I mean, it performs differently and it's different. But hopefully, we'll see some love to those skills in the near future, maybe in the next challenge leagues. But
And that is actually one of the nice things about GGG is that they do put forward a lot of things into the game, and their reasoning behind it is to just be like, well, let's see what the community does with it. And
right,
I think that's a great attribute for a developer. So they're not really afraid of things because, as you said, like Molten Strike is average, but when you combine it with things, like Cast on Crit and everything, like it could become very, very powerful. And so it's
yeah.
kind of okay to get these lackluster skills because we could find them implemented in other ways that we don't necessarily see right at the start.
Yeah, I mean, it's much like they said it before, but it's, the community's reaction to it when they buff a skill, they're like, yay! But when something comes out too powerful and then they nerf it, they're like, fuck
yeah.
you! Like they're like, how can you do this? GGG, no fun! They're like, they're banning fun. I hate this game. Or, it's like, you're always going to get a positive reaction if you're buffing stuff that's, underwhelming. But yeah, like another thing that's been like in the back of my mind is, I want to talk about the dual play. Your partner in crime, Bob Slop, Etup. Did he ever let you down? Because I mean, he has the responsibility to curse the mobs. I mean, you're giving him that security, like, you're like, Bob, you got this, you got this. Are you still there? Are you still there? You run out? Like, am I here alone? Do I need a bail? Like, did that ever happen?
Not really. I mean, generally when stuff gets cursed, I mean, I think support. I thought supports were like insane before they added in curse effectiveness and all this stuff. I mean, GG actually, I know for a fact they agree that they're insane, but the reason they don't nerf them is because nobody really plays supports, and there's very few that you like that are around that are like Orabot support like curses, all this stuff, right? And even though they might be like the most overpowered thing in the game, so few people play them that they feel like they're not justified to like nerf it. But I mean that might change. I mean we don't know. But I mean he never. I mean like I said, it's pretty safe. So like unless he's forced to log or something, it's generally pretty good. And we're there. We take breaks whenever we want to and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see a support character kind of hitting the snooze bell because, I mean, he's not really doing stuff. I mean, his curses last a long time. I mean, he
Yeah.
just throws a couple balls in there and he watches you like go in there and annihilate it.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, how,
probably why you got like burned out on like mapping. And he's not going. He wasn't even like he was like 96, and he was kind of like I'm done with maps. This is kind
are
of
you 100 yet?
yeah. So basically, that's how I started. Like I was just running. He would only run like 81s and 82s, and he went from like 96 to 98. Like he didn't play for like a week, and then he passed Time Cop, who was the third 100, and was like hundreds of millions above him because he was just running my high maps. And he's getting like 60 million an hour, and I'm getting like 18 because I'm doing all the crap he doesn't want to run, right? So yeah.
So did he just straight up tell you, don't call me unless you have 80
Yeah,
or
well,
81?
yeah, he was playing a different game, and I was just, what he would do is he would be logged in my hideout, and I'd be like, Bob, we got a boss. And I'm like, so he comes in, I TP him for the boss, curses him, kills him, gets loot, goes back and AFKs in the hideout because he's playing something else, right?
So there's one more thing that I kind of want to talk to you about, Etup, and it's leech. And I know you've actually been talking about this on your stream a little bit recently. I've heard you say things like, "Oh, leech is just terrible right now." I've made my own complaints about leech, and like, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I think they know it needs change. I mean, Chris Wilson said he thinks leech is terrible, well, not good enough right now, and he wants to buff it, but some people didn't agree with him, but they would probably buff leech. But I mean, I was running, I don't know, 1.5, 3% leech. I had like some leech rate, like 30% or whatever they just gave me for free on some nodes. And I mean, I don't know. Even with like socketed leech, it is all right with like leech socketed because you get like, I have like 70% leech rate with like 8.2k HP, you know?
Right.
Well, we got the big leech cap, and even then it's still kind of like whatever compared to just sticking in like life gonna hate. You really wouldn't notice a difference at all. But like the big thing you'll see, like you won't really see it on like a 2-hand build, like because it's kind of. I mean, you generally like so tanky if I'm playing like my Cycloner, it's kind of whatever with so much of regen. It's really hard to even see like leech do anything,
Right.
even if I'm running like 3+% of it. But like I made a Reaver, which is like 1-hand crit, and like it is like hybrid 3k ES and stuff, but without socketing leech and trying to get leech, like I'm running a claw, so I have 1.2 leech. I have like gloves of 0.4 leech. You know, you might have some other leech like around, but like, I mean, I don't know. It's just seems so terrible that I don't even really want to play the character because I go to like a boss and it's like on mobs it's okay. I get hit. Let's say I lose 2k ES, I attack a couple times, full ES, no problem. Like that's pretty standard, right? Like, but you go up to a boss and like even let's say you have a 100% crit chance, you're still leeching like 200. I mean, it's like pitiful, right? It's you don't even like it doesn't do anything. I know their intent was so you stop like base tanking bosses, but then like CI melee, right? Like how do you here? What's your defense with CI? It was your leech, right? You had like this crazy pool, and that's how you like lived. But now the leech is just terrible. You get no blood rage. You're gonna play CI melee. You're gonna have to get max leech on every piece of your gear. You might even have to use like a leech gem just to even leech like some. Yes, it's just like there's nothing you can do about it for like it just feels awful for Valpak. Like I feel like regen is so dominant right now, and that's mainly due to like crit builds that like would use Valpak to take benefit from that huge leech. They can't even use it for bosses. Like how are they going to kill bosses? That you want them to use potions if they're like half hybrid or CI, they're gonna zone out of the boss and wait for ES. You can't always do that.
Well, that's
zone out of the map.
When you run hybrid, you get that double penalty. You get the HP and energy shield degen, so blood rage is like out the window.
Yeah, there's no way you're blood raging on any ES character, pretty much. Like they're like, yeah, it's not going to be free. You just can't use it anymore unless you want to have a trash build that can't even get to somewhere where it'd actually be difficult to do anything. It's like,
I mean, I did notice like, I had like 1.8 on my 2-handed sweep, and I was doing no regen maps with blood rage. And I mean, with endurance charges, you definitely. I mean, I felt good with blood rage in my 1.8. But if you don't have blood rage, it's shit. There's just not enough itemization out there to make up for it. And I mean, that's like such a small minority of builds that you can do that actually can run blood rage efficiently. And I think that's one of the biggest problems. And it's so lackluster early levels when you have it just like on a piece of jewelry, you can't even notice it. Like you literally have to get to that 1.6, 1.8 and really high physical damage to even feel it.
My issue with it is that we have tons of passives on the tree now that's devoted to making leech better, but like if you're in that part of the tree, you wouldn't be using that leech, if that makes any sense. Like it's just like those passives are so lackluster and it's not good for CI, which is, we already talked about. Like you can't use that leech anymore. So, and the passives down south, they're not good.
I don't know if they're
too much.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like they're not efficient.
Yeah, if they were like on main highways, like small branches, I would pick them up. If they were, but if I have to travel 2 strength nodes to pick up a 4-wheel to get a notable leech, there's no way in hell I'm doing that.
I mean,
I'm just like. What? 6 points for Leech?
I can path my current build by like the big duelist life leech rule, which is like the biggest one in the skill tree. And I mean, what? So 3 skill points, I get point 1.0 leech. It's like, would I even notice that? Is it like I'm just throwing my skill points out the window? I'd rather just have like 3 more life nodes instead. I mean, I don't even. Would it
Right.
really even be worth having that? Like, it's not really going to do anything. It's not going to save me. It's not going to
Yeah,
really help out.
15% more life might equate to just more regen than you would get from the leech.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could use. I feel like overall, especially to a new player, the fact that they have like leech. I like how leech works per second now. So whether it's a small hit or a big hit, as long as it's the same DPS, you're getting the same amount of leech back, against your physical. Or I mean, if you're using the life leech gem, obviously it can work with elemental. But other than that, I'm not really happy with the leech nodes on the tree. I just don't. Every build that I've planned out, just not worth it. Too far, too many points. It needs to be like, I don't know, 3 pointers off of main highways for me to even consider, picking them up. I don't want to go
Yeah.
out of my way and get it.
I think like another issue I kind of forgot to bring up with like mapping in general and why I feel like there's just like if you there's a really low like I don't know I feel like everyone's playing like within like 5 or 10 builds tops maybe, and like a lot of it is with like how do you even if you're not blood magic, how do you even like run maps? Like you're gonna mana pot in every build. Like mana pots are just awful, right? Like sure, like poison arrow, you can run a mana pot. It's really not that bad. You don't have to spam cast. You like shoot your arrows. You just run by, shoot your arrows. It's not that bad. But 60% like regen. If you're on like let's say one hand crit build and you're using like mana leech, well there's no way you're running like this map, and you honestly need to be able to run pretty much every mod. If you get like some really good stuff and half regen and enfeeble and stuff like that. Enfeeble hits like melee crit builds 3 times, like damage reduction, accuracy, crit, and like on a like so let's say cyclone where you're like RT, you just lose some damage. You probably don't even notice it honestly, but you're losing like so much leech, and like so your leech is getting gimped like doubly by that, and then leech is just not good, and you're gonna have issues with like mana regen as well. And those are the good mods. Those are pack size. You like those are like free pack size. You're gonna give up 20% pack size because you know you can't even sustain you using mana pots for that, and it's gonna be like really clunky and like not fun for like pretty much your build. You're gonna have to use like mana get on hit jewels, and even then you can't kill bosses because how are you sustaining bosses? You're gonna have to get like some like a bunch of mana pots, and it just feels like awful.
You need
to,
a
like,
Bob slot.
play them. Yeah, I mean, I don't even spam some Val Clarities for bosses. I don't like. What are you gonna do? Like, that's like one of the big issues with maps or like builds is how do you run high maps when you can't run the free mods that are pack size? Like, they did take away pack size being like a roll, but now you kind of roll for it in a different way. You still roll for pack size now. You just have more ways of getting it. Like, I'm still rolling 30 pack size or huge
I mean,
quant with like 15 pack size. Like, you're still going for the pack size. It's not changed at all.
it feels good, at a certain point when you're like, yeah, my build can handle these mods, or I can run it. It feels good to be very, very versatile. I mean, technically, you could run, you could get to 100, but if you want to be competitive, you need to be able to
Yeah.
run a diverse set. You could just, it's just
You
going
could
to
spend
cost
twice as
more.
much.
Yeah,
Exactly. And you're
you're just gonna
spending
have to
time as
trade
well. It's like,
more. It'll be a lot slower, but when you
I mean,
make a
like,
build, yeah, that can run all different kinds of map mods, it's like, yeah, let's allocate. Oh, that looks good. Put it in.
yeah, like some maps you'll spend like 10C on to like roll it. I mean, sometimes you're going double or triple that if you're trying to roll away mods, and then you got like if you get the pack size, it's like enfeeble, temp chains, vuln, right? And then it has like let's say it's 5 prop, and you got like I don't know some other just like throwaway like burning ground, whatever. I mean, that's like the dream map. Vuln, LE, weakness, temp chains, and feeble, whatever. Those are just such free. You'll be at like a 45 pack size map, and the only thing you have to worry about is vulnerability, which 79 plus is literally nothing. Like you're running negative max and all that stuff 24/7. So it's just like I don't know. It just hurts like certain builds way more than others right now.
Well, so I mean, with all the tiers of maps and like when you get those like super rippy mods, I haven't really gotten to the point where I run high level maps yet, like anything over 77. And I'm now like at this point where I sometimes I don't even look at the mods. I'll alch a map and I'll just throw it in there.
If you
And
see a
I
wall of
get
text, looks good.
yeah, I get
It
into
is
the
a wall
map.
of text, yeah.
Right, I get into the map and I'm like, oh shit, this is a mod on this map? Oh, whatever. Like, I just don't even worry about it anymore. Because I'm just like, well, cool, this has 95 quant. Let's go. I just don't even look at the mods anymore. And I think that's a good change, right? Like,
You're
just
gonna die, bro. You're gonna
maybe.
die.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna die, but I play hardcore. Like,
Fire into reflect. Whoops.
I'm poison arrow.
Okay.
Maybe that's why I don't really look at half the mods, because like I poison arrow with blood dance, so I have a ridiculous life regen. Like I have like 10% life regen, and I just move, like I just shoot an arrow, go through. You were saying earlier that with poison arrow, you don't have to spam it. You just shoot it once and you just keep going.
Yeah.
I actually do spam my poison arrow because I use divination to distill it. So I try to keep my mana down so I could constantly get that rarity and life regen, or not regen, the quantity, rarity and quantity.
Yeah. I think PAA is definitely going to see some nerfs. I mean, it's just too strong. It does everything, like no reflection, no checks.
Yeah.
Hater.
You're so mobile. You just drop it and leave, and that's just way too strong. That's too. I mean, mechanically it should stay the same, but I mean, having the damage toned down a bit, I can definitely see it not working with projectile damage instead of making it independent. Like the upfront hit is projectile and the cloud is like AoE.
If you made it not work with that, you would hurt PA. You would go back to trap poison arrow at that point.
Well, that's fine. I mean, chaos damage shouldn't do more damage than everything else.
It's fine if you don't play it.
I mean, nobody's playing trap poison right now.
No.
There's no point to play that, and I mean,
I'd be okay with that.
Slow.
I would be 100% okay with that if it wasn't affected by projectile damage, if I was able to use it with hypothermia.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I have to ask a question before we let him loose. But Etup, like now that you've hit 100, you're going for 8 of 8. Obviously, that's the near future is 8 of 8. But after that, like, I always wondered how come you don't dabble within the races? I mean, clearly you've shown you've been competitive on the PvE, ladder push. I mean, does racing not appeal to you, or I have no idea on your.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just never really enjoyed. I don't really enjoy like low level character. Like I know racing is a lot more competitive than just like leveling character and stuff, but I don't know. I never really enjoyed that. I always like just like upgrading, min maxing the build at high level and like getting all the GG items for your build, and
you're just like me then. I like the same thing.
Like next level, it's like, oh man, I can respec these 2 nodes and go here. Like I respec like every level of the min max. Like if you're like 2 points away from a node, this level you're not taking the highway, you're taking like life, right? Like that's like amateur hour, right? You're not getting the strength nodes, So I don't know. I just don't enjoy the racing thing, so that's why I don't really do it. I did Reign Supreme and Descent Champions when it first came out. I got like a top Templar maybe once. It was basically just like clearing maps, and I was like, yo, this isn't bad. And then CW came in, he was fighting me. And, we had to just give it up, just lie down, let him take it.
Pass on the torch.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're done with that.
Is that HBR stance too? I mean, because I haven't.
I would assume, I mean, he's kind of the same way. He just enjoys like the high level of builds. Like when I make a build, right, it's going to be like 115 plus points. And
it's a nice build.
I basically, like when I make a build, I'm like, could I go to 100 with this? If I can't, then why would I play it? If it's like, I could probably, I could do it, but I might just die between like 90 and 96. And it doesn't really, like, it doesn't have like the defensive. It's not like, it's just strong overall. Like cycling, it's just like, man, this thing is beastly. I picked that. I made 4 like cycling builds before the thing. I was like every single class, and I looked, and it's basically between Ranger as like evasion and Marauder. And the reason I picked Marauder is because you can get like just having like 200 more strength, getting more life, and I just felt like there was like certain things that it was weak to. I knew what it would be weak to over evasion, like Reflect and GMP, like Tornado Showers, which is I did too many of those maps that I shouldn't have. Because I mean, if you saw my Mjolnir Tornado Shot video, where I went to like 47 health or something from that at like 99 or whatever, that was like I know the weaknesses of armor versus, well, not really armor. It's like pseudo armor, right? I didn't actually have armor,
Right.
but versus like playing evasion, I just felt like having more HP would be better. I mean, I don't even know if I ever really. I guess if I was playing evasion, the dominus thing would have been pretty scary, but I would have probably had phase acros, so maybe I would have gotten lucky, or maybe I got unlucky and I would have just died there if I was playing the other build, right? So
Yeah, I guess now that I think about it, and now that you said that, there's not really many builds that continually benefit from more levels, right? Like I think Poison Arrow is maybe one of them. I might be wrong, but maybe all builds do this. But is that kind of like is there some truth to that statement? Like there
What do
are
you
some
mean?
builds that once you get
like you
95.
want nodes to grab or something like that. Is what you mean? Like
I
stuff
feel like
that's
there's
good.
never
then
enough nodes to grab, like,
I guess what I'm trying to say is like, are there builds out there that once you get to 110 points, there's not really much else that you could grab.
I mean maybe before Jules, but now with Jules, I mean I
Oh
can see
yeah, that's
myself
actually a good
like
point.
it's like, oh, I'll drop 2 damage nodes. Get like I got a 4 prop Jewel. I mean, this is just 3 points away. It's still better, right? I mean, I did do a 3 point away Jewel at 98 or 99 because I thought it was better than something. Drop
Right.
life nodes. Trade 2% HP for like 28 fizz and 7% life. So.
Yeah, I mean, I constantly I have that drive to just get that extra node, get a little bit closer or drop this set for a better set. I love min-maxing and polishing a well-rounded character and dealing with all the problems and your deficiencies
Yeah.
versus like zoning into a race at Twilight Strand and having no movement speed, no Quicksilver. Just like, oh god, I'm fucking miserable.
Yeah, you're
Just like,
min-maxing 12 points. You're not
my cast
min-maxing
speed is like
123.
1.0. I'm just like, god, kill me.
Speaking of that, my MFer, which died today, running the real sick negative 17% movement speed. That is like I couldn't even level with like because I leveled up with Bob because he wanted to roll a ball lighting character and I was like sure MF I've never done it, sounds fun, but like he would be halfway through like past the waypoint and like off my screen by the time I loaded in because I had to run through town and it was like faster for me to go to my hideout and port back to the town to get to like the waypoint than it was to walk. It's
I remember
crazy.
hearing you say that multiple times.
Yeah.
You didn't even do Temp Chain's chilled ground map, man.
Yeah.
You didn't even
Oh,
get
yeah.
to do the great
I
stuff.
probably wouldn't have actually moved. I just have to use movement skills. It's like
You like flame dash and you're like waiting for the
yeah,
cooldown to
like
come off.
rolling blades.
But yeah, so I mean, but could we all at least agree that the best thing to do is just to play and not complain?
Oh yeah, man.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess.
I guess.
So-
It's important to
sometimes,
give
like-
feedback.
Yeah,
Right.
That's true.
Yeah,
Try
feedback
and lay it
feedback
on
is
strict.
important.
You're thick.
Well, awesome. I don't know if I'm gonna put that in there. Whatever. Okay, cool. Well, Etup, thank you very much for coming on.
Mhm.
It was really cool to talk to you. I really enjoy your stream. It's fun. Yeah, there's a lot of dank memes and things going on in his chat.
Yeah.
It's entertaining as hell. So
You don't enjoy my stream?
his chat is much more entertaining.
Oh wow.
100%. Sorry.
This-
Sorry.
Yeah.
But
Chat's ruthless sometimes.
yeah, it's so awesome. So yeah, Etup, is there anything you want to say before we head on?
Not really. Thanks for having me on it, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Smork or something, drop some more face.
You could catch him on twitch.tv/etup. There you go. Yeah. Okay. Hedgie, go.
Yeah, I just want to thank Etup. This is my first time I've ever talked to him, and I'm glad I got to pick his brain and see what it's like on the high life.
The day in
high
the
of
tough life.
100.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And yeah, thank you again. Thank you very much, Etup. And not obviously. I didn't say that once this entire time, Hedgie.
And
I
then
didn't
you
want
said
to.
it there.
Okay, obviously. Cool. Yeah. So you guys can catch me on twitch.tv/Wabacha. I have started a stream recently, and yeah, if you want to come check it out, Hedgie will host me 500 viewers, and I'll shit away 350 of it in about 10 minutes. So yeah, but yeah, thank you very much. What?
Wabacha will upload my death video in the description.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we'll include all sources in the description below, and comment. Let us know what you guys think, and if we're wrong about something, well, Etup's 100, so he's not really wrong. You guys are
If you
probably
think
wrong.
we're wrong, you're wrong.
Yeah, if you think we're wrong, you're wrong. Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys very much, and we will see you guys later.
Later.
See.